Okay, so let me figure out where we're at in this project. We have done this. Okay. I think the last thing we need to do is just print it out and or save the stream, I think was what the next thing to do would be. And I don't remember how to do that. So let's open up a previous version of this project and let's work through that. So let's go here, maybe see source. I don't think it'll be here actually. Maybe we'll go to here. Let's try these. Yeah, there we go. Hooray. Okay, so let me close these because they're not important to us anymore. So this save to wave function is part of the SND file that we can use. So let's go ahead and just copy and paste them on in there. This isn't important for the long term of this project because what we're going to do next actually has nothing to do with saving these functions, but I just want to show that what we've done is actually really interesting and we can save these. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to build this project, cmake, generate that, make num channels. Yes, that is true. So in this project, I actually had num channels, like I had these set up as, so what we need to do is pass in our audio session. So when you save a .wav file, it needs to know these things as well. This is the save file info, so it's got a save file object, and then this SND file for the streaming the data file, sending the data file, whatever that stands for. So what we can do is go session.config params, and then this is num channels. I don't know what num frames is. Oh, we passed that in, that's right. So we can set that in main. And then this is sample rate for us. So let's try and make this again. Oh, it's gonna give me an error because I didn't add this to my header file. So this is the flow. Let's go ahead and make this. So I don't think that we have a main yet. We don't have a way to handle this in main, so we're not really calling it. But there we go, this is our data printing from main, so that's pretty cool. At least I think so, that's really awesome. Let me open the main and see how we called this. Okay. So that's how we did it. So let me do this. Let me go to our main and, oh, this is gonna be a little bit goofy. So let's do this. Session dash data dash samples. This is super weird. Now we need to return the index from our data index divided by our number of channels. And then we need to pass it our session. And then let's go ahead and try and get this to compile and stuff. Sample, oh my god, what am I even doing? Oh, I did it again. Someone stop me. Recorded data has no member num channels. That's true because it's in config params. What this data means, like when you trace this back, right? Recorded data has no num channels, right? So session, if we go back to our config file, audio session is an audio session type, right? Audio session. It's an audio session object. It says recorded data has no member samples, right? What does that say? Num channels, right? Because what I did was I said session data, so that would look in this structure. And there is no number of channels. That's actually in configuration parameters. So that's how I knew where to go to fix this problem, because it's actually true that it's not that is not a member of that data structure. Data, recorded data, did not have recorded data, the data type recorded data does not have number of channels. It only has samples and index. This pointer to a pointer to a float object, and then a integer variable index. So let's go ahead and run this and see what we get. So this should actually produce, and I don't like to look at that, that's awkward. Let's make sure this whole thing runs. And what we should actually get is an output somewhere called output 3. And then I'm not sure if we're going to be able to hear this through the video playback, but let's go to my C project. I think it was in build, yeah. Let's do this and see what we get. Yeah. So this should actually produce, and so we can get to 5 seconds maximum, I think, of recording time. That's pretty cool. At least I think so. Let me try it for a longer session and see if we can do that. Okay, so I'm just going to see how long of a session we can handle here before it kind of times out on us. Oh, it's just going. Yeah, we might get 10 seconds worth of audio. So now we got to play all those samples back. But that's really cool that we were able to pull these samples off and save them in a variable, and then take that variable and save it as a WAV file. So I didn't pay too much attention to this function. I just copied and pasted it from ChatGPT. I was like, hey, can you give me a way to write a WAV file, and what's the library? And that's what SND file was. So at this point in the project, we've set up a pretty decent CMake list, and we have a pretty good understanding of how to use CMake, right, and what it's really doing. And then we have like our modules. We found our modules. We have our paths for the libraries and stuff. That's pretty cool. So let me go ahead and look for this new output and see what it came up with. Yeah, okay, so that's nice. I'm just going to see how long of a session we can handle here before it kind of times out on us. Look at that. That's really cool. Yeah, we might get 10. We got almost 10 seconds of audio out of that, so that's great. That's super cool. I'm pretty happy with this, actually. So one of the things I think we can also do is like say const char pointer file path equals, and then let's print our working directory. So let's try and save this somewhere else besides the default folder that they choose. So, oops, I guess I copied that whole thing. Let's do this and see if this will give us a... Then we can talk about strings. So in C, a string, it's really a character array. It's an immutable, that's what this const means. Const means read-only access to this character array, which is a file path. Interestingly, I think you have these characters, right, and each one of them is you have this array. Each one of these characters is the element. So I think the length of this would be whatever this is, and then at the end there's a null. So when it reads this, it starts iterating through this array and then finds the null, and that's how it knows when to stop, because there's a null that's stored at the end of it. So let's see if we can get this to save in a folder that's not the default build folder that it's taking. Time will tell. It's the end of our function. It's at the very end of our main. Oh boy. Is a directory. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, I'm so dumb. Output 3.wave. Oh, I'm so dumb. We'll have to wait again. Alright. That error means that I gave it a directory, not a file type, a file name. So it doesn't know what to do with a folder. It knows what to do with the directory and the file type. This has to get up to about 500,000 samples on the printout, I think. Woo! Let's see where that thing's stored. Nice, there it is. That error means that I gave it a directory, not a file type, a file
Look
name.
at that.
So it doesn't know what to do with a folder.
That's pretty cool.
What to do.
So back to what I was saying about the character arrays, like, so if I was able to print out the length of this, printf length file path. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this. I don't know how to do a while loop in here. I wonder if I can printf like file path dot size maybe. I know you can do that in C++, and then I'm just gonna suppress like all this other output for now. So let's try size maybe. Size is not a member. I don't know how to do this actually. So maybe we'll do while x not equal null. This is dangerous, everybody, meaning Yang. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna say x equals, let's say x equals file path at 0. And then we'll make like a counter. Counter equals 0. Const char x equals, and then int counter. And then, so x will equal, x equals file path at counter. And then we'll take counter and do plus plus. So let's see. Let's see if this causes a huge issue. Oh, I still have this bad output sitting there. Size? Oh, I need to save the file. If you don't save, it runs on the previous version. Gateway an integer. I'm not exactly sure how to do this actually. Maybe I can take the const qualifier away. Between pointer and integer. What? I don't know. I don't know. There has to be a way to get the length of that file. Anyhow, so what you would see is like, I can look this up, but I'm not super interested. So if you have like, hey, this actually has length 4. So in the first element, you would store H, and the second element, you'd store E. In the third element, you would store the character Y, and then I don't think this increments to 12. I think this goes to like A, B, C, D. No, I'm just straight up lying. No, I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. Whatever, it might be octal. Who knows? The last one is a null, so it's actually 4 in length. And the way it reads this is it starts at similar to how we saw with the arrays, right? It has this variable is the pointer, so pointer to the first element. This variable file path stores the memory address of the first element. So when you start iterating through this, you get H, E, Y, and then the very last element is a null. So I guess what I could do is say like, I'm gonna print a string, and then what I can do is like guess file path at 12 and see if I can get to the end. So let's see what it prints out. Segmentation fault core dumped. That's weird. Oh, I'm so dumb. It's because it's const. I can't access this memory. So yeah, so I don't know how to deal with strings in C, but this is the idea. And we won't need to for the next module we're working with, but this is pretty cool. The state of the project is pretty cool. So in the next, I guess in the next video, what I'm going to start doing is we're going to go through and see how we can make this turn into a Python code. And that's pretty interesting. So that's what we'll do next.